But how do you deal with the issue of crime in this country when the government, the opposition, and every one of the talking heads on the sidelines all seem to be connected to or financed by people who benefit marvelously, magnificently from crime? 8 years ago, Faris Arawi told the nation it cost $25,000 a month to house a prisoner. I did some quick calculation, that's $1.5 billion a year. In the 8 years since, they crossed $10 billion housing prisoners. This is just housing them. At $25,000 a month to house a prisoner, it would be cheaper to put them up in the Hyatt. Why are we spending $25,000 a month housing prisoners? How much are we paying Justice on Time to move prisoners up and down? I've been telling Trinidad for decades. Build the court next to the jail. You don't have to give Abu that contract anymore. Save hundreds of millions of dollars. How could you realistically talk crime in this country when the government, the opposition, and those on the sideline who want to pretend that they know about crime are all a bunch of bullshit artists and just distracting you with foolishness? They have real and salient information that being ignored. The Guardian and the Express and the Newsday publishing all these gum bumpers, and they're not talking about the reality that driving crime. So let's look at that. Let's look at what it would take to fix crime in Trinidad and Tobago quickly. Because for all the talk between the three gum bumpers, nothing of substance coming out. Let's talk. We have 6,000 soldiers in Tetron. What they doing there? What they doing there, besides playing Olympics with Manico and Dwen and training to kill their wife and mother-in-law? What they doing there? What do you have? 6,000 highly trained, armed to the teeth men doing in the bush when the country could use them? How come we're not talking about that? Even if Barbados invade Trinidad, we lost. We do not need an army for an army's sake. It's bullshit. That should have been turned into some version of Homeland Security since forever. The reason we had an army in Trinidad, it was called the regiment. It wasn't to protect Trinidadians. It was to protect the Queen's interests against Trinidadians. The army's job was to suppress and quell any notions of independence or marches. That was the army job. The army job was to deal with Chinese, not to protect Chinese. So now the Queen gone. So is the army still there to protect the government against Chinese? Why the army not protecting Chinese? Let's talk about this. Okay, so we talk about that, right? Let's say the 6,000 of them getting $8,000 a month salary, like the police. Let's say that. That's $50 million a month. For what? $50 million a month, I estimate. It could be an underestimation. It could be a lot more. What is the purpose of the army? You have 6,000 men, fit fighting men, trained and wasting. They do not have to continue to be soldiers. End the army. Bring them into some version of national security where we could use them to help fight crime. Let me tell you where you could deploy them. In camps on the 233 beaches the country has, where cocaine and guns coming in free. You're not hearing Rowley or Kamala or Griffith with all the bullshit they're talking about the fact that we do not make guns here. So if little bandit boys have guns to kill people, it either coming in legally by one of them gun importers, illegally through the ports and up on the beaches and in the rivers. This little postage stamp of a country we can't secure. Listening to those three bullshit artists, Rowley, Kamala, and Griffith, waste your time. The army is one step forward. Stop that being an army. Put them into national security and deploy them. Build camps and bases around the country. Augment the police service. Yes, who don't want to train to become auxiliary police? Here is your retirement. Here is your severance. Go. There is no value to Trinidad to have a standing 6,000-man army. We cannot fight anybody with that. Maybe if Monas or Gaspar Grande invade. Let us be real. Stop being fools. Stop sitting down there playing Indian and African politics, talking bullshit, sticking finger in one another eye, while the rest of them laugh at all you. They're making $25 billion a year fighting crime in this country. Them don't want crime to go. Them don't want crime to go nowhere. I am the one who tell them, put extra workers in customs. You see what happened for Christmas? They put extra workers in customs for Christmas just to clear the backlog. You could take 1,000 soldiers from the 6,000 we have in the army doing nothing but running from Dwen and Manico and training to kill wife and mother-in-law and put them to work on the ports with the customs officers. Give everybody a body cam. You don't want to wear your body cam? Look your severance. Go! You don't want to wear the body cam by law? Look your severance. Go! Customs officer, you don't want to wear your body cam? Look your severance. Go! Mr. Soldier, we putting you to work on the port. You don't want to work on the port? Look your severance. Go! Taxpayers paying all of that. And we fed up. Especially as this little quack called Mimbert come in to dig around in withdrawals, looking to see what else we have saved. We save money with properties. He coming to tax that. We need to stop it. We need to reverse the amount of taxes that we pay. And on another video, maybe tomorrow night, I will deal with the property tax. Because if you wanted to stop him from bringing a tax on your homes, 500,000 homeowners just need to stand together and say no. We are not interested in your rental value bullshit. Do not come and tell us that you're going to take property tax and maintain the neighborhood. That's bullshit. We paid 3 different tax for you to do that already and you're not doing it. So I don't trust you. But stick a pin, we'll talk property tax the next time. We're talking crime. We're talking crime now. Let's talk about the army. 6,000 men, highly trained and armed to the teeth. Put them to work securing Trinidadians in many different places. Put them on the North Coast. We need them on the North Coast for the drugs that come in through Blanchishes and Las Cuevas. We need them there for that. Put them to augment the 8,000 police we have, because obviously 8,000 police is not enough. And let us secure the people. Let us secure the nation. So let me deal with that, right? Guns coming from where? Outside of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to ask the UNC that have so much to talk about crime. How come all you had shut down everything Manning had put in place to stop guns and drugs coming in the country, and all you had put nothing to replace it? How come? Kamala, Gary, UNC, and the 52 other ministers of national security that she had. How come you all put nothing to replace when you shut down the OPVs? And I want to tell you something, and I apologize before I apologize again. Because I was one of those people who just thought Manning bad, Manning bad. Well, Manning almost saved this country. And before Karen Nunes, the sheriff, came out to say that he was the one who was willing to stand up against the drug barons and the drug importers and the empires that ruining this country. That's who ruining the country, you know. Not them little black hen chicken that you put in the papers, you know. The ones that ruining the country is the one that actually bringing the guns. Do the math. 40,000 illegal guns in this country, at least worth $1,000 each. That's $40 million. Which one of them little black and chicken have $40 million? Which one of them little gangs have money? The only money gangs have in Trinidad and Tobago, they get it from the government and they get it from drug importers to move drugs and protect blocks. But drugs don't come to Trinidad to stay in Trinidad. They move drugs through Trinidad like a pipeline. Under the People's Partnership government, so much drugs was flowing through this country. They was catching drugs in Norfolk, Virginia, in Canada, in Vietnam, in Spain. I say, but like they bump up, the transporters bump up their movement. Not to know is Trinidad stopping drugs. So when you hear them talk to bullshit you, I want to tell you something. If we had had those OPVs, the 250,000 Venezuelan immigrants that end up in this country without any due process, couldn't happen. Because the OPVs was for that. The OPVs was to prevent anything just coming up on our shores without examination, without permission. Offshore patrol vessels. That's what they were. I read the Maritime Security Wall on Patrick Manning desk, national security that Patrick Manning had done. Patrick Manning had organized to have it. People were bidding. They already had proposals how to create the Maritime Security Wall, but the technology was evolving so fast that the offshore patrol vessels seemed to be the best way to go. That could have deployed attack helicopters and interceptor boats. It was quick. Send people abroad to train. Come and operate them. We have 25 Coast Guard boats in Trinidad that stay tied up all day unless they go in DDI to Lime. Drive around when the little white girls there, so they can go and pose and pretend and play and sexy. How you going, darling? Yeah, give me a little double dog. Our Coast Guard not guarding the coast. But that's another conversation. We're talking crime, but we're not talking this. We're talking a Coast Guard and not guarding the coast. We're talking an army that chasing Dwen and Manikou and training to shoot wife and mother-in-law, but can't come and secure the nation. And I'm being very honest here. Every month that goes by, every salary paid to the army is $50 million minimum wasted. And then you have to feed them, clothe them, house them. This is not me against the army men, and women. They're just not being used properly. They trained for a job. Let's put them to do that job. And who don't want to do that job, here's your severance. Go and do something else. We have 50,000 security guards in the country. Go and be a security guard. Let's be real. The guns are coming through legitimate ports of call. Last 3 commissioners of police agree on that. They agree on one thing. The guns coming through the ports. The Customs and Excise told the government, told the parliament in a joint select committee they're understaffed. They cannot deal with all the containers that are coming in the country, and that more than half of them leave the port unexamined. That means 50% of the containers coming to this country, bringing in cocaine or guns or drugs or even washing machine and dryer that are not listed on the bill of lading or the manifest, so they're not paying the correct duties and the taxes and robbing the country. We don't know. The biggest racket in this country that needs to be stopped immediately is man taking their container unexamined to their area and having a customs officer come there and open it and say, yes, I only saw 3 tires. Look your checks, look your envelope, look your box of apples. For the 50,000 box of apples you didn't see. All that have to stop. You want to fix crime? Secure the borders, secure the borders, secure the borders. Stop putting people who are known to international law enforcement and the drug enforcement agency in big positions on the national airline. Stop doing that. Secure the borders. Go down to the ports. Talk to customs. Customs important. Customs are a source of revenue, and they are also a way to secure the country. What do you need? How much manpower do you need? 400 extra men a shift, 3 shifts, 1,200 men? Done. We will borrow it from the army till we hire and we train. Maybe the ones that come from the army can get a raise in salary. They want to retrain, retool, learn to do this. Boom. Business fixed. Body cam, everybody. Everybody. Body cam, everybody. Every single police officer from a 9-stripe khaki come right down to a fella who now come out the academy. And who don't want to? Wear the body cam. Look your severance. Go. From the commissioner, come down body cam. You see, Griffith and Kamala and Rowley not talking these things to you, because Trinidad is a narco state, and it is governments plural that allowed us to continue being a narco state. So when you listen to other governments in this Caribbean talk about their country, look at Jamaica. I want to give you a little idea. Jamaica just made $1.8 billion on Christmas tourism. We not making that on our carnival, greatest show in the world. Bullshit. They just turned Arapita Avenue into a pink light district. Nobody could tell me yet what them pink lights that they just put up on Arapita Avenue was for, what it cost, who they gave that contract to, and why. Nobody can explain. Nobody can explain all the money that they're spending on Arapita Avenue as if that is a pink light district now. But you just take a pen, we gotta come back to that. There's so many things to deal with. And you saying down there thinking, a comfortable a black and a vote black, or a comfortable a Indian and a waiting to vote Indian, and both are just getting, what is they say? Take bull. All are just getting bull. That's what you're getting. Because you're not getting governance. They are lying to you. They are lying to you, and as long as you're willing to play African, Indian politics. So the rest of the people who are not African or Indian, they say, well, what's the point in me voting? So they're not voting at all. So these two bullshit artist parties that are sponsored by the same band of criminals getting away with murder. Literally. So when you see today, they have a group of people in the People's Partnership that's get a hard on every time the news say, hey, somebody dead. What? Somebody dead? Ah, let's do a Facebook post. One time, let's get it out there. Sensationalize it. Panic the nation. So because that's the only way they're going to get work. The only way the UNC going to get into office in any way is to pull down the PNM. And they don't know how to do it. So the only thing they could do is frighten Trini. More murder. This morning, I read the first post that was forwarded many times. Double murder in Westmoreland. I said, what the hell? I live in Westmoreland. Double murder in Westmoreland was bullshit. It wasn't a double murder in Westmoreland, first of all. It was a double murder in Glencoe. But double murder in Glencoe doesn't frighten Trinidad like double murder in Westmoreland does. So they moved the murder. There was a joke about a police officer who was going to work one morning, early in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and he bounced up a dead body on Abercrombie Street. Run to the station to write a report. Can't spell Abercrombie. Went back and moved the body to Duke Street. And that's a joke. But this morning, the people who get a hard on this morning when they hear that a soldier killed his wife and his mother-in-law. So that was not domestic violence gone tragically wrong. No. Double murder in Westmoreland. We panic Trinidad. No, I'm not picking up for the PNM. I am the one that gave the PNM the most stick. And I'm done. So I don't care now. I'm telling you all straight. You as a voter, you need to decide which one of those bullshit artists you're going to take. You see, somebody said today on the radio and I was listening, why all the voters don't organize themselves and say, listen, all of us voting for the same party this year. All of us. Pick one of the two. But we're giving you all 20 things to do. And you have 100 days. And if you don't do it in 100 days, in 100 days, all of us coming outside in the road, shutting the country down, firing you. Firing you, putting the next party. And we'll keep doing that because you see, it's hard to start a political party. It's hard to present a political option in a country where race drives the decision. And I was thinking tonight, I was in the gym doing a workout, and I was thinking, you know, it is such a base thing to say black, vote black, Indian, vote Indian, African, sorry, can't say black. African lives matter. Vote African, vote Indian. It's so base, it's so easy, it's like a bell whistle. Everything else but that. Why somebody didn't form the National Woman Party or the National Man Party? Gender is the next base that you could appeal to. Only men, only women. Why not? Why not gay? Why not the gay party? Why are we not, instead of looking to align ourselves with people who look like us and have the same hair texture as us or the same whatever as us, why are we not looking to be people together in a country that just want a good life? That don't want to have to spend the $50 billion we spend on wrought iron and security every year. Why we don't want that? Why we don't just want a better country? Water in our taps, good schools for all the children. So some children not going to a school to come out as fries, packer and baton twirler, while others coming out ready to get a work in Macau. Why we don't want that? Why we don't want that the public health in Trinidad so good? Sinclair and West Shore and all them closed down because public health that costing more than private health care to the taxpayers. I went this morning to a school besides Don Ross, St. Andrews, St. Monica's, Maria Regina's. All of these are good schools and all of them charge $6,000 a term. Trinidad pays $8,000 taxes to get crap education. Why we don't just privatize the education system? Get the government out of it. Because the government just robbing you. If you could save $2,000 a year for the 200,000 children, work out that money, work out that savings, and we will be getting educated children with a chance at a life. None of them coming out as failures, abandoning education, going and become grist for the gang mill. Well, that makes sense. Fix education, create hope and opportunity, end the poverty, give these people jobs so they don't have to go and join the gang, make it illegal for the state to do any business with gang. They have all kind of thing in the gang law about that. They don't have nothing about the about the housing minister or the minister of works giving gangs contracts. They have nothing about that. So they are funding the gangs and then coming back to you and saying, boy, we don't know how to stop the gangs. You want to know how to stop the gangs? Stop funding the gangs. Stop funding the gangs. So then the crime will stop. Gang violence will stop because Charlie in charge of this gangs, they have so much gang now, they stop trying to name them. One gang named 6, the next gang named 7, the next gang, they're not trying to fool us anymore. What's your gang name? 8. 8. Well, 7 and 6 was taken. And they're only getting people to join the gang with them because the people have no work. Going Morva, Beetham, Laverton, and Sealots where 90% of the gang members are, and ask the young men how much you want as a salary and what you're prepared to do, what you would have liked to do. When you was a little boy, what you wanted to be, a fireman, a soldier, a cowboy, what? And create jobs. Create jobs, hope and opportunity. None of them want to be running around thinking somebody could come and shoot them up on Arapita Avenue. You gotta run out the car to shoot your girl. Like all this shit that's going on in this country. They don't want that, you know. They don't want that, but they don't have options. They don't have choices. Morva, Beetham, Laverton, Sealots, even Harding Place and Waterhole and Cocorite. When they go to fill out job application, they can't put the correct address, you know, because people are not hiring people from there. These people trapped. We've trapped them. We've created. There was a fellow called Helen Francis. He sang in his song, "We will create a bandit factory," in his song that made him famous the last couple of years when he just came out. Now they make him an independent senator. I want to stick on him like I stick on Stephen Cadiz. Stephen Cadiz, who shot to fame on Keith Noel 136. Keith Noel was the 136th person that died and reached in the parliament, and forget Keith Noel. I don't want Helen Francis to forget. If we don't fix it, we will create a bandit factory. So every single time Helen Francis stand up to speak, he must say, "Madam President, I am here because we don't want a bandit factory. I am here for that." Excuse me. Because we don't want to create a bandit factory. I am here for that. Every single time he stand up to talk. Because if Stephen Cadiz had remembered, and every single time he stand up to talk in the parliament, that he was there for Keith Noel, they'll never forget. They'll never forget. They will never forget crime. But the People's Partnership job at that time seems to have been anything banning bill, shut it down. And hire people to make whatever they do look good. The only difference between Erla Christopher and Gary Griffith, and you can clip this and share this, the only difference between Erla Christopher and Gary Griffith is Erla don't have social media trolls on the payroll, making whatever you do look better than it is and hiding what you didn't do. That's the only difference. That 5% drop that Erla get, worth a round of applause, you know. But we won't give her that. Because as of now, Griffith, who was P&M strong commissioner, get fired. You see, Rowley was good when Rowley was paying Griffith. When Rowley stopped paying Griffith, Rowley bad. Kamala was bad when Rowley was paying Griffith. But Rowley stopped paying Griffith, so Kamala good. Gary and his wife gone over by Kamala, even though they had to have been lying down in the bed at night and they called rubbing Gary bald spot and saying, "Honey, Kamala bad." "Yes, girl, she bad. Them funding the gangs and them trying to destabilize the country and they blocking poor Kitos from passing good laws that will help me end crime." But all of a sudden, they over there rubbing Kamala bald spot. And that is the bullshit of this country. And that is the bullshit of the politics in Trinidad and Tobago. And you have to stop being swayed by political bullshit. Gary Griffith should have to answer to the nation about that. About everything he said about the UNC and Kamala when he was commissioner of police. The same way I told him. People ask me, Fuad Khan bounced me up in Starbucks the other morning over the Christmas and asked me, he said, "But you and Gary was like ring on finger." I said, me and Gary fall out. When Gary was fired by Rowley, and Gary said, when Rowley said he believed that Emailgate was still true, and Gary said he should have to take that back. And I told Gary, when he was appointed commissioner, that he should insist that Rowley say that Emailgate was bullshit. So the country ended up with a prime minister appointing as commissioner a man that the prime minister believed conspired to commit murder, political murder, of a journalist, and never recanted, never retracted it. Gary was commissioner for 3 years while Rowley thinking that. When Gary came out, Rowley still think that. Gary didn't have the sense of decency to respect the office, to understand. He couldn't take the office with that hanging over his head, even if he don't care about himself. And when he had to come back and say the same thing I said 3 years later, but you see, when he said 3 years later, he forget that 3 years before, he tell me, Monilal paying you to block me from becoming commissioner. Now he in Monilal party. And you want to ask me why? A new political party launch. And Karen Nunes Teixeira and Steve Alvarez, who said that they fully support the action I took to free Wildflower Park. The political leader of that party, Timothy Hammersmith, is the lawyer of the man responsible for the signs and the camera. How I could join with them? And how do you feel? You see, politics in Trinidad and Tobago, the reason I can't join with none of these people is because politics in Trinidad and Tobago seems to come down to how much you're prepared to not see. You know, when people get back to Karen for talking about Manning said to her when she was minister, when he was alive, about the people that are involved in drugs. People are right to get vexed that you all could have come out and talk about it then. You all should have come out and talk about it when you had political power. But like the Scott Drug report that George Chambers had organized in 1987, no, 84, when the NAR came to office in 1987, when the drug report was complete, they all hide it from the public because of the names of the people involved. And that was 1987. We in 2023. There's a man who I think he teaches at UWI, named Darius Figueroa, wrote a book about drug trafficking in the Caribbean. The man knows more about drug trafficking in the Caribbean than anybody else. They tried to have the man book removed. They tried to have the man book unpublished. They tried to have the man fired and ridiculed. That is the power of drug money in this country. The power of drug money in this country presents proper law enforcement being done from the top down. So when you're sitting down telling yourself that you're black or you're African or you're Indian and you're voting UNC and you're African and you're voting PNM, you're not voting for those parties. You're voting for the people who fund them, who control them, who operate and use them. It is why we are doing nothing of sense. It is why customs have to let containers off the port without examination, because they're under-equipped and they're understaffed. It is why the army is left underutilized, despite being highly trained, left underutilized down in Tetron. It is why the Coast Guard does not guard the coast. It is why the police are paid so horribly. It is why the police are paid so badly. There is no incentive, no motivation. Everybody will tell you, if you incentivize and motivate all police bad, put body cams and dashboard cams on everybody. And all of a sudden, you could control everything. All of a sudden, a commissioner of police could call for the dashboard tape of this vehicle that responded to this crime at this time to see what went on there. It could fix. And the purpose of all the videos I am going to do from now on. You see, They have a lot of convent girls, accented, sideline politicians that the media keep giving all the airtime to, and you will keep hearing them talk, and you will feel, boy, it can't fix now. It can't fix. But Singapore gets, in 1 hour, they handle more container traffic than we handle in a year. Singapore, that is 1/3 the size of Trinidad, gets in 1 hour more container traffic than we handle in a year, and Singapore is drug-free. So what does Singapore know that Trinidad doesn't know? What does Singapore know that Trinidad could hire them to teach us? What? You see, success leaves clues. There are functional countries all around the world that we could go to for assistance and for help. But you, the voter in Trinidad and Tobago, keep sticking yourself with political miscreants whose job it is to fool you into thinking race forward, identity politics, this one evil. You know, that you would sit down and accept in 1 week a man who was pro-PNM and cuss Kamala, leave PNM, join Kamala and cuss Rowley. And you accept that. You accept that normal. You have no sense of self-respect, no dignity. When you look at your children, you don't want a better country for them. When you look at yourself, look at your elders and realize that one day you will be them. Where you have no power, you have no authority. Old people in this country have no power. They hardly have a voice. We treat them with disrespect. When you reach today, wouldn't you like the country to be working? Would you like it to be functional? People ask me why I step away from the politics. I am the only politician that tells you all of it. I am not saying I'm the only politician that knows it. All of the other politicians know it too. But they are sponsored. They are paid to lie to you. Every single thing that I have ever said in this video tonight, you know is true. That if we properly fund and equip the Customs and Excise Division, if we got a Coast Guard that could deploy, we have 25 boats. The boats just need to be from the tip of Icacos to Chagaramas. And Chagaramas is where the main base is. So put our next main base down by Icacos and have all them boats. You ever see in properties, we have properties, and the security guards have a little thing. And we put, there's a socket for you to put it in, and it measures the time up on the top, and we put one down on the bottom. It's 20 minutes for you to walk between them. You can't just stand up and stick one 5 times because it's measuring the time. So that means 20 minutes you walk. Over the course of 20 minutes you walk this way, and the next 20 minutes you walk back this way. Because you're a security guard and you're supposed to be securing the place. Don't tell me it's night and you want to be sleeping. That's another job. You're supposed to get another job. Become a daytime security. But I'm saying that you could do that with the Coast Guard. Once the Coast Guard functional, because both A, C, and both B helping people storm the shores of the island, they'll be able to make a report. we saw our own people involved in crime. Because if the Coast Guard that has the radars and all of the ability to secure, to monitor the borders, are watching things happening and doing nothing, then it's either they're lazy, they're incompetent, drawing money under false pretenses, or they're taking bribe. And I'd hate to think it's the last one, because that's law enforcement. So maybe what we want to do is get a proper Minister of National Security who would deploy the Coast Guard and report to the public once a week. 9,000 man hours, this was what was interdicted. I mean, I'm telling you, this is how it's done in the real world. This is how it's done in the real world. You know what they could do? They could put cameras monitoring the coast and make it free for anybody to go. They have people in America, private citizens, who will sit down and monitor chats, who will monitor camera systems and call the police and say, hey, I just took down the license number, so, did so, and call the police and tell them. And they get a little reward. You can have private citizens in their home in Tacarigua, sitting down watching on their computer or their phone and monitoring the coast of Trinidad and Tobago. And that technology exists. We have the ability to stop the drugs and stop the guns. I keep telling Trinidad and Tobago, there is somewhere between 37,000 and 40,000 illegal guns in the country. If you give police $1,000 a gun, put aside whatever it takes, what's that, $400 million, 40 million, 400 million, put that aside. And as the police bring in the gun, look your money, fire it so that you have whatever it is, ballistics, and melt it. Live on social media, people will get tired watching you until the last gun melted. There are no more guns because the Coast Guard at sea deployed and the Army on land deployed and police getting $1,000 for every one of the illegal guns they bring in. Plus, the government has now stopped funding the gangs. No more government funding for gangs, and that jobs and opportunities are created. It's one thing to say they have a list of every name of every gang member. That's what they say. They know every name of every gang member, but they can't do nothing with it. They can't prosecute them. They can't jail them. Even if they catch them in the act, they go into jail, they come back out on bail. So why not try and retool them? Why not bring in all of these gang members? Because the fellow whose girlfriend get killed on the avenue this weekend, he's a human being. I'm sure you have some feelings for that girl. Plenty pictures sharing on social media, him and her. So he had to have some feelings for that girl. He had to want a better life. Maybe if you had given him a better life, maybe if you had given him an opportunity, he would tell the gang leader of 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, right? Can't do the gang thing anymore. They can't do it anymore. And if they tell you that they have places like in Cocorite and in Lavantil where people can't walk from this part of the area to that part of the area because they're passing through gang area, you have 6,000 soldiers. Put a 20-foot container out, equip it as a police post and put a police officer and 4 soldiers right there on the border. All that done. You could fix all of it. But does the government want to secure the borders and stop the drug trade? Is the question we have to ask. If it is so easy to do, why is the government not doing it? And why are you, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, not asking yourself, if it is so easy to secure the borders and unstuff the containers and stop the drug trade? I want to say it to you again. Singapore handles in 1 hour more containers than we get in a year. So that means we could unstuff every container and you don't have to do it forever. Just do it until the drug traffickers leave Trinidad and go and find some other way to get their drugs. They don't care about Trinidad. They want to get their drugs to America and Canada and England and Spain and Portugal and France, all the first world countries where the children snorted their life away. No problem. Don't use Trinidad to do it. Don't corrupt our systems. Just secure the country, lock it down. Call a state of emergency in the sea. Write a law that you could call a state of emergency in the sea so that any boat that drive out of Yacht Club or Yachting Association or anybody house in Bayshore or San Fernando Yacht Club, once you drive out into the water, the Coast Guard have a right to come and board your vessel and look to see what you have. And I know that that is damn inconvenient. But you know what is more inconvenient? Going to your family member funeral who get killed like that woman who just look out her window because she hear back, 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 back. She look out, back, worry back at her. And I know that it is easy for everybody in Trinidad and Tobago to be so jaded and so disheartened. So they come on my post and talk this shit like Alicia Patrick just called government workers are motivated by bribes. It's not bribes they're motivated by. Everybody motivated by a good life. And they will take the proper way or they will take the bad way. But everybody wants some way to advance in life. Everybody wants a good life. So let us stop pissing in each other's faces. Let us start to say, you know what, let us all try to work together, because the problem is the people up on top, the contract mafia, the narco bosses, the money laundering empires, and the politicians are working very well together. They are a small number. They are a couple hundred people. We 1.4 million. If all of us got together, I told some people tonight in a group, I says 400 of us in the group. But if each of you all add 10 people, that's 4,000 people. Now, the group can't hold 4,000, but I'm making a point. Because the next position would have been, if each of those 4,000 add 10, that's 40,000. Next 10, 400,000. That's how you mobilize. And if the people who owned homes didn't want there to be a property tax, then they need to unite. Because their voice is important. We pay a stamp duty. We pay duty on all the materials that build the house. It is unfair. It is triple taxation to do a property tax. And I want to come out there with a petition and mobilize and get people, but we are just being too lazy. I've said for years. We are irresponsible with our democracy, and that is what is going to bite us in our asses. Philip will fix it. Was predicated on the fact that we would show you this is how it's done. Go and ask, you don't like me? No problem. Go to any politician that you like and say, listen, Philip said that 1,000 times more rain falls on this country every year than we could use. Is that true? Yes or no? Yes or no? In the 200 years that they've been capturing water all across the island, 15 inches of rainfall this year and 16 inches last year, you know the volume, you know the capacity, you know the amount of rain that falls on the country. Is it correct? Is he right? Yes? Okay. So he says, and you said he's right, that 1,000 times more rain falls on this country for free than we could ever use. And he says that if we capture it, held it, treated it, and distributed it, we would have water 24/7. We would not need to pay desalination $1 billion a year and buy Blue Water's water and pay other people, because he said that these are the statistics. Is it true? Is it true that we can capture, hold, treat, and distribute? Is it true that all of the concrete rivers that exist from Chagaramas to Arima, that if we sank them 50 feet deeper, we could hold 1,000 times the water that the reservoir is holding right now? Is that true? And that the overflow from that, when it climbs above that level and it overflows, it could turn turbines that could power the pumps for free, that could send the water to the people. Is all of that true? That exists. You could go on Google and check it. Listen, there are people, there are fake profiles whose job it is just to go on Facebook and say Philip Live. But I want to tell you something. You have access to all of the information in the world at your fingertips right now. So you could find out. You could find out the average, and if they don't want to tell you how much water falls on Trinidad, ask them how much water falls on Barbados. Go and check Barbados, and you could just work out the square kilometer difference, and you'll get it, because a cloud that rains on Trinidad generally wets Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, and other countries around us, Venezuela. So you could find out, and you could find out easily if you wanted to see if I was telling you the truth. So I'll tell you this, we're not talking about water tonight, and I will do a video. Every single time I will do a video on issues, and I want to tell you something. Don't be lazy. We will do property tax tomorrow. I'll come and do property tax tomorrow and go through with you and show you how we could deal with that, and we could get the government to reverse their position. But let's deal with crime. If the government wanted, Kamala and Gary and Rowley don't have to meet. This whole bullshit that's going on in the media, will they, won't they? All that is just to sell papers. I told you that at the start. From the moment they said it, I said, this is bullshit to distract you and sell papers. You are the voter. You put them there. Without your vote, Kamala and Keith have no work. Understand me? They're like Vasant and Mariano and Basdeo Pandey for the last 20 years walking around talking about politics. Now everybody love him. They love him when he was talking about things they didn't like. But that's another conversation for another time. Too early. Let time pass. Let them milk it. But if you took back your vote, if you took back your support, Keith Rowley have no work. Kamala Prasad says have no work. You could put in that office who you want. You do not have to support the PNM. You do not have to support the UNC. You are the power. You are the taxpayer. Every single person. I listen to Trinidadians bad talk one another. Let me tell you something. You could be bareback living in a drawers on the beaten. Because that's who they there's one to identify as the poorest, useless person. That's how we do it in Trinidad. Even that person paying taxes, even that person on every purchase, on every consumption, by their existence, taxes paid. You are the owner of the vote that keeps these parties in government, and you are the taxpayer that pays their salary and pay the bill for the toilet paper in the Parliament building. You have all of the say, but they divide you. Stop being divided. I want to tell you this tonight. As I say again, I love me. I don't need you to love me. There are plenty people that love me. I have enough. So if you love me, fine. If you don't love me, no problem. My job here is not to get you to love me. My job here is to get you to understand what has been done to this country and what continues to be done to this country. So you don't need Keith, Kamala, and Griffith to meet and talk crime. You need to ask them, why is the Coast Guard not deployed? Use that word, deployed. Why is the Coast Guard not deployed? Why don't we equip and fund and provide the manpower for customs to unstuff every container on the port? They will tell the boy, you know how much space that will take? Why don't we use the port in Point Lisas that is empty and not being used? Is 100 times the size of the port in Port of Spain. A port is basically a big car park with cranes. We could move the cranes from the port of Port of Spain to a car park in Point Lisas on barges. It will take 12 hours, and we could have that port functional in 24 hours, and we could build sheds so the custom officers don't have to get wet, and we could put body cams on all of them so we will see what they see when they open the thing, and we could take some of the 6,000 soldiers that doing nothing down in Tetron and put them to augment the manpower. So in 1 week, you could be unstuffing every container on the port, and the Coast Guard could be deployed, and nothing illegal could come in this country again. Is that true? Ask Kamala, ask Griffith, ask Rowley. If they don't answer you, take back your vote. They are bullshitting you. And the media sharing the bullshit liberally. Let me say it again. If you deploy the Coast Guard, body cam them. Put cameras on the Coast Guard boats. Hear me? Proper manpower in customs. Unstuff every container, every barrel, every box. Open it. You don't like it, don't ship. Trinidad is a narco state. We want to end it. Every diplomatic pouch, they've got drugs and ammunition in diplomatic pouches in Trinidad. This is not a normal crime scene. It's a bad one. And the reason it's as bad as it is because governments, plural, have been in bed with the criminals for too long. With the drug importers who financing them and the gangs who they funding to get them power. Because the same man, I tell you, man, used to walk with them. And the man, his wife, the children, everybody there, they run out of place to paint pictures of who get killed. I'm going to tell you, none of this supposed to happen. I was a grown-up when I started to hear about Trinidad, a gang named the Young and the Restless. I said, the Young and the Restless? We have gangs? Why we have gangs? And when there was one gang and two gangs, before it reached all the multiples of gangs that we have, they could have ended. But they didn't want to end it. And the same Gary Griffith talking about crime said the PNM and the UNC funding the gangs. Ask him. Just ask him. Mr. Journalist, any of you journalists, just ask him. You said this. Was it true then? Was it fixed? Or was it a lie? Just ask. Because I, Phillip Edward Alexander, saying to Trinidad and Tobago tonight, there are 3 steps to take and crime will done. 3 steps. Tonight. All they have to do is deploy the Coast Guard. We put in body cams on. Why put body cams on the doubles men? Put body cams on everybody. If the army is a big CPEP, put body cams on CPEP. We want all the footage we can get. Now, that's me being facetious, a little sarcastic, and maybe a little bit entertaining. But the truth of the matter is, deploy the Coast Guard and make it so that you could monitor what the Coast Guard doing, monitor what the police doing. Dashboard cams, body cams on the sergeant and the police station are taking the information off of the dashboard cam and the body cam that the last shift wear. So if he corrupt, you're catching him one time. It's easy to fix. You don't want the body cam? Here's your severance, go. Deploy the Coast Guard. Unstuff every container on the port and via the airlines up in Swiss Midland, up in Piaco. Unstuff everyone. Boss, it will take some time? Yes, but funerals take longer. So let's do this. Let's end the murder. And then, now that you've done that, create a space with cameras and lights and we're working around the clock and tell police officers now that no guns could come in the country because we have the Coast Guard guarding the coast and we have customs and stuff in every container and we deploy the army to the 233 beaches and rivers so nobody can drive up nowhere and we send the army in all the hot spots. We deploy them there with police so nobody can be charging nobody no tax to walk across from John area to Mary area. All that shit done. But now let's give police $1,000 cash. I have a police partner that have medical issues. That if you tell him he can get $1,000 for every illegal gun, he will work overtime for the next month. Give police $1,000 on every illegal gun. All them little old guns that we see in the media that look like come from the Santa Maria and the Pinta and the Nina, no problem. But they go run out of them. And then you go start to get the AR-15s and the AK-47 and the M16 and the little Glock and all that shit. And they come, whatever it is, look at $1,000. 10 beautiful blues. And we take it, pack, 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 3 shots in the machine that they have in Federation Park. Bring one here. It's a small machine. Pack, pack, pack. That's the ballistics. Good. We have the ballistics. We know. Melt this bitch. Melt him. Don't tell me take out the fire and pin so off this. I don't want to hear none of that. Melt it. So we come out in a little block of metal and we're going to keep all those blocks of metal till we have 40,000 blocks of metal and we know they have no guns left in Trinidad. And the crime will start to do this. And then you tell the social development minister, all of a sudden you say, you know what? We need to focus on jobs. You work with the Minister of Finance and identify ways that we, and the Minister of Trade. Here, all these people that we have, they're just getting salaries to do jack. All these foreign affairs ministers, all these high commissioners and ambassadors, what are you doing? Help us create industry in Trinidad to generate jobs, not just oil and gas. Christ. There are so many industries. We have so much idle labor in our country that have summer 25 months a year. So work don't ever have to stop. We're the closest thing to automation. We're giving you free land because we have land. We're giving you free land, free natural gas because we used to flare it. Free natural gas to run your machine, free internet, free electricity for a year. You have to hire people and pay them good salaries and create a competitive environment. And the 50,000 unemployed people that creating the human resource for the gangs, once that dry up, so you will still have crime like Mr. Soldier who went home to kill his wife and his mother-in-law because the justice system did not have a way to protect her despite all the restraining orders and everything else, somehow. But you see, when we stop the guns and the drugs and all that shit, and we're able to focus on normal home crime, we'll be able to put resources to work on that soldier. Because immediately after she made the first report, he should have been unarmed, disarmed, and put into counseling. Immediately. Immediately. And that counselor, you see it on movies, that counselor is supposed to give a report every week to say if he could be in the army or not. This man is a threat. He's a threat to life and limb. Bam, bam, bam. Or he's coming along well. We undid the damage his daddy and his mommy did. That's what you need to do to manage the country, to run it, to fix it. It could do. Every single thing could do. If we create jobs, we will end crime. If we secure the borders, guns and drugs and contraband and human trafficking will stop. If we unstuff the containers on the port, guns and drugs and human trafficking and contraband will stop. We could fix it. We could fix crime. We could fix crime now. Incentivize police. If you give police $1,000 per gun, every single police officer I have said this to agrees. Police officers say, Philip, you know, they try to teach a plan and they say it and they announce it, but they never give us $1. I'm telling you. Right there, put an ATM. They have things in the States, you put in plastic bottles, money does come out. Put in a gun, $1,000 will come out. Go and bring in 10 guns tonight. Because police they want a good life too. That's what they join the police force for. To contribute to the country, to give back, to secure, and to use their whatever abilities they have to the betterment of the country for themselves and their family. But they want a good life. They want to buy a house, drive a nice car, take their wife on vacation, take their husband on vacation. And why shouldn't they? Why do we look at people with such scant respect? Why do we disrespect them and then wonder why they become what we accuse them of being? That's what we do. We shit on our own foot and say, but that don't look good. That not good look. That not smelling good. Why do that? We need to stop it. We need to start respecting each other. We need to respect police officers, and police officers have to respect themselves. And if we do things like this, if we put things in place like this, the country will fix. And I'm telling you all, I'm telling you all a million times, listen, all we have to do is stand together, stand together. Because I want to tell you, they have no end to my brain. And I am not the only one. There are a lot of bright people in this country. And if you give me support, and people realize, I make this joke all the time. I say the reason BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Ferrari sells because women want to drive in BMW, Mercedes-Benz and Ferrari. If women say they wanted to ride on donkey cart, no BMW and Mercedes-Benz selling, and everybody have a donkey cart. Women have that power. Women, it's time to start encouraging your husband and your boyfriend to do better. We need to start operating as people who look out for each other and care about each other. Let me tell you something here. All of us, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, if we stood together and we said to the government, this is what we want, this is what we don't want, fix it or move on. As long as there's a Southeast Port of Spain school that has a bullet shield wall, we have a problem. As long as there's a Southeast Port of Spain school with a bullet shield wall that have people coming from Sangre Grande to bring the children to that school, we have a problem. It means we're not sure. We have no idea what we're doing. But all of it could fix. I'm telling you, all of it could fix. And if people see you giving me support because of my bright brain and fixing stuff, then all the people who have bright brains and can fix stuff will stand up, and you'll have less bullshit artists as politicians, less people willing to take a bribe to sell you down the river, and more people willing to just make a national contribution because they want a better country for themselves and their loved ones. And we will get to be a place that everybody in the world would want to emulate. Be like Trinidad. Let us not be a cautionary tale. Let us be something to aspire to. And we can fix all of it. And if you want that at all, then come and join me. Or organize yourself. And step up, because we could fix this country, It is not a difficult country to fix. In 1 5-year term, you could fix all of it, You just have to be willing to take the war to the drug lords. And no political party in this country has ever done that. But you have to be willing to do that, to shut it down, and to go in knowing that what they did Manning is what they're going to try and do to you. Yeah? At this point, I'm supposed to give you a reason to come on board and join with us. My number is 682. I was going to do a 10-minute video. It's 54 minutes and 59 seconds. I want to tell you, my number is 682-2110. You could WhatsApp me, and I will send your name or your number to the team, and they'll bring you on board. There's a Citizens Union group, and when it gets full, we'll create more groups until we could create communities. They have communities now on WhatsApp, so all the groups can talk to each other. We're doing that. But the purpose of the Citizens Union, not being political, allows people who are African or Indian, who we just nothing and we don't vote, because it's not a political party, it allows us to come together and add our voices. See the symbol? 2 hands clasped. That's the strongest way that you can help somebody else. Okay? So, let's help each other. Obviously, the politicians and the political parties are not for us. Obviously. Because if they were for us, we'd have water in the taps, the education system, where we work in healthcare, we work in banks, wouldn't be able to take 13% tax on our foreign exchange. Banks wouldn't be able to determine who gets foreign exchange and who doesn't. Banks wouldn't be digging out our eyes with fees. Banks wouldn't be giving us interest on our money if the government if the political parties, if those in office cared about us, there'll be jobs. There'll be a competitive job environment. If they cared about us, we'd have water in our taps. The health, public health would work. National security would work. We wouldn't have all these problems, and we can fix it. If you want to, and you see, and I know you see all these people in all these positions and all the ties and the gongs and all the shit, all of them could be fired, and all of them could be removed. All of them could hear, hey, take your severance and go. We only want people in public office who want to serve the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We'll pay you well, but you serve them. And everybody, the budget will stop being 60 billion, it'll come down to 30 billion because at least half of that budget is theft. At least half of that budget is corruption. But you have the power to decide who goes in that office and what they do. Everybody's telling me, Philip, you know, you believe in Trinidadians. Trinidadians don't believe in themselves. I think that's bullshit. I think Trinidadians just punch drunk and they just need somebody. And I've been in it, sticking it, taking all the jam and everything that come with it. And we'll be able to address a lot of things that are developing right now that you could see that working out in our favor. But not right now. But tonight we spoke about crime. And we showed you how easy it is to fix crime in this country without having to rely on stunts from 3 political bullshit artists. So you know. So ask them, why aren't you talking about deploying the Coast Guard? Why aren't you talking about body camming everybody? Why aren't you talking about unstuffing the containers on the ports? Why aren't you talking about incentivizing the police to pick up all the guns? Why aren't you talking about creating jobs to end poverty? Why aren't you talking about stopping the government funding the gangs so the gangs could stop? Why aren't you talking about that? Save us the bullshit. Talk about that or miss us with your bullshit. And that's where you have to be as a citizen, as an heir to this country, as an owner of this country. You have to be somebody, I understand how it works. Phillip Alexander told us. You tell me, is this bullshit or is this real? And if this is real, why haven't you done it yet? Until tomorrow, stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.